Can you hear us, a PM?
I can. I didn't hear you singing, Simon.
Well,
very good thing.
you've saved me, and I appreciate that greatly. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a pretty full-on 4 days. Apologies I can't be with you in person. I would love to have been there. It looks like you're in for a really fun day.
I don't want to start too glib, but I was just thinking on the way here, I mean, I presume it's your first time in the Cabinet Office, and to state the bleedingly obvious, it's round. How did you find that?
It is. No, it was, we had 2 cabinet meetings this week. I know it's a place that you've spent a bit of time in, but it was very good, actually. It was good to look around that room and think we've got the right people on the right assignments. And gee, we've got a lot of work to do to get some mojo back into the joint and to get the country moving forward. So we're looking forward to getting into it.
I'm softballing you before we get hard, but what's your day like today? What happens today? What's on the agenda? That you can tell us without getting in trouble.
Just a series, as you'd understand. Lots of briefings. So Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, some other foreign policy conversations, just endless meetings really until I get to go home later on tonight.
We really want to hear from you, Prime Minister, about how we get our hustle on in North America also, given your experience.
No, looking forward to that. Yeah, big opportunity, as you know, in North America, and I'm just very excited about it. And so it's great that you're bringing this together, both of you, and bringing the relevant business people and folk from the US in it as well. It's important, and we can do so much better together as 2 countries, and we can build a much stronger and better relationship economically and also in a people-to-people sense too. So it's an exciting day for everyone.
What's your advice, PM? I mean, you're a veteran and a great friend of North America, having worked and spent a lot of time there. What would your advice be, in a sense, on doing business in the States? I mean, maybe you'd like to reflect a bit on how it was for you, how long you were there, run us through that. And yeah, as I say, a bit of advice maybe in terms of doing business as a Kiwi over there.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, I started off life and business life here in New Zealand, and then I was in Australia for 5 years, and I was in London and UK for 3, and then into the States for 6, and Toronto and Canada for 2, and then back to the US again. And the reality is in each of those countries, there's something different to learn as a New Zealand business person. Be a Kiwi, be proudly New Zealander. But, when you go to Australia, you're going to be much more direct and upfront. When you go to the UK, you need to be much more thoughtful about first principles and thinking. And in the US, it's all about execution. And, the US is the ultimate business environment. If you can be successful in the US, you're going to be successful anywhere in the world, because it's a place I wanted to go to as a business person, because that's where it's the most competitive. That's where it's the most opportunity. And it's also a culture there that just embraces business and entrepreneurship. I remember as a CEO sitting in my office in Chicago, and I'd have 14-year-old kids come in to want to talk to you about how to be a CEO. And so there is just such a massive culture in the DNA of entrepreneurship, of innovation, and of enterprise. And so it's a very positive, very stimulating environment. But I also remember I used to be a beachhead sort of counsellor and advisor, and I remember watching and setting up an appointment for a New Zealand business to go have a meeting with a Walmart buyer. And the Kiwi person came over from New Zealand. I had a little PowerPoint presentation. I jacked up the conversation with the buyer, could move their business from $20 million to $200 million. And I spoke to them afterwards, and I said, "Where are you?" They said, "I'm in the pub." I said, "How'd the presentation go?" "Oh, it went fantastic." Then I spoke to the Walmart buyer and said, "How did it really go?" And they said, "Oh, it was a bit hokey. It wasn't quite that polished. There was a lot of sort of stumbles and ums and ahs." So in America, you need to learn to keep your Kiwiness, but you also need to embrace the things that is important in that business culture, and that is rapid follow-up. And as the buyer said to me, it's been 45 minutes and I haven't had the follow-up email to tell me what the next steps are and what the next agreed actions were. So, that's the intensity of a US business environment. It's very different from what we would encounter here at home. So there's no doubt about it. We can be incredibly successful in the US, but it's just making sure that we blend and we learn some new things to add into our Kiwi game so that we can be unique and different and stand out, but most importantly, do the business and execute well there. It's all about execution in America and getting it done well.
It's really interesting. And just following on for that, I mean, we heard yesterday at the Air New Zealand function with American and New Zealand business leaders, the Warren Buffett to his shareholders, and actually just on that, interesting and sad to see the the passing at nearly 100 of Charlie Munger, his
Yes.
longtime business partner. But don't.
I met both of them. They were very fascinating men, very
Amazing.
interesting men.
But don't bet against America. And in a sense, right now, that despite I don't think I'm saying anything radical here in this audience, a lot of dysfunction in their political system and how that works. An incredibly dynamic economy still at 4.9% growth. Why do you think that is? What is it about the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I feel exactly the same way, Simon. Politically it may go through ups and downs, but exactly as you said, don't bet against America because it continually innovates. And it puts real focus and real resource behind innovation, which then actually lifts the productivity of that economy and opens up new places for it to go to. So it's just in the DNA, and people are proud to be business people in America. As I said, young kids want to go to university to become entrepreneurs. That's an aspirational thing to do. And that's what I'd love to see a lot more of in New Zealand. You've got a whole bunch of business people in the room today. I think over the last 6 years, people who've been in business have actually felt like, it's a dirty thing to do. Actually, no. Government, business, community working together are three equal but different actors in our society, and you've got a mission critical role to play. Yeah. So there is just something in the hustle and in the DNA which is just so appealing. And so if you're an ambitious, an aspirational person from New Zealand, you love the US because, man, all those values are very much linked into achievement and making things happen. So it's in the DNA, and we've got to build it into our kids to celebrate excellence and to go for excellence and to shoot for the moon and make things happen. And sometimes in New Zealand, that tall poppy thing means if you've been a bit different, if you've been a bit successful, if you want to be successful, that's not considered a good thing. And we've got to sort of move that mindset a little bit.
Yeah, Prime Minister, we've got a number of dignitaries from the United States in the room, including Ambassador Tom Udall. What is the messaging that you want to use through this forum today for the United States?
Well, look, I mean, it's good. Tom's a good friend, and Tom, it's good to see you, and thank you for being there today. And I know you'll be key to proceedings through the course of the day as well. But Tom and I have spoken about it several times. But I want the world to understand now that we're not doing the inward-looking thing that we've been doing over the last 6 years. We are a small trading nation of 5 million people. We get wealthy by getting out in the world. And I think we've got huge opportunity between the US and New Zealand in a number of aspects of our relationship, economically, but also we have values that we have massive alignment around. But I want us to be able to build more familiarity with each other. I want our New Zealand businesses to build more capability to be able to be successful in the US. I want us to welcome US investment into New Zealand. We are the second most restrictive foreign direct investment country in the OECD behind Mexico. That is utterly unacceptable. How are we supposed to invest in innovation, and how are we supposed to get global best practice and world knowledge into our businesses here in New Zealand if we can't open up to foreign direct investment in that way? So, I just want to say to everyone, the country's under new management. We're open for business, and we're going to be out there in the world hustling and getting things done for New Zealanders. Yeah.
On that score, Prime Minister, when are you planning your first trip to DC and elsewhere in the United States with a business delegation?
Yeah, well, that's what I want to do a lot of, and Todd McClay will talk to you more about it as well. But we are going to be out in the world a lot, and we're going to take a lot from the business community with us because, as I said, in government, we can create the conditions, and then it's up to you as the business people to go out there and convert it and to make it happen. And in a market of 350 million people, where there is, as I found through the GFC, I was operating in the US during the GFC, and it was very brutal. It was much tougher there than it was here in New Zealand. Made me a much better business person going through that experience. But what I learnt was in a market like that, for products that we sell in New Zealand, there is inevitably an upper middle group of segment of consumers that are largely recession proof. And so even when I was at Air New Zealand, we could still make a pitch to upper middle Americans, and there was enough of them, millions of them, that we only needed 350,000 to come here each year to make our whole tourism proposition work from the US. So the thing is, we only need small segments of what are largely niches within the US population to actually sell our products and services to. So long story, Fran, is I haven't got a time locked in, but rest assured, as you know, I'm someone who lived overseas for 16 years. I lived in all 4 countries that are our Five Eyes partners. That's where my career was done, in those same 4 countries. So I know those places well, and I know the opportunity that sits there. And I really want New Zealand businesses to seize the opportunities that are there. And I want to be able to partner with the US a lot more and build a deeper relationship and make sure we get those people-to-people flows working, but those trade and capital flows coming as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things noticeably up at APEC this year was a great deal of curiosity about what your government would do. And I've been asked to pass on an invitation to you through the back door from the US Chamber of Commerce. And they said they're really looking forward to hosting you. You can expect a red carpet reception, but you will be challenged exactly on what you're bringing to the table with new policies, and also about New Zealand being open for business, particularly as an investment destination.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I met recently with 55 ambassadors, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I was a little bit stunned, if I'm honest with you, in terms of how difficult it has been to actually engage and have access with New Zealand, with the New Zealand government. And I want us to be very open. We have to be externally oriented. We have to do well in the world. And so, yep, that's a good challenge. But I look forward to going and spending time with them as well.
PM, congratulations on, I think, a really credible 100-day plan, and actually beyond that through the coalition documents, what looks like a really strong program, I think, for New Zealand over the next 2-3 years. Of course, much of that's domestic. I suppose that the big question is, you are in a sense now as New Zealand's Prime Minister, and I say this with the Right Honourable Winston Peters in the room, and with all respect to him and the great job that he will do, but you are Foreign Minister in Chief. The world, as I said in my introductory remarks, got a lot of problems at the moment. How do you see it? And at a high level, what does that mean for us? And where do you put your time and focus? Fran's already got you going to DC sometime. I don't know that you quite said next year, but I'm going to say next year. We know India's in the offing. Yeah, run us through that.
Yeah, look, I mean, I just feel, Simon, that the country's been in a very inward-looking state over the last 6 years, and we've been very myopic and very inward-looking and not very ambitious, and as I've often said, playing, I think, quite a negative game. And I don't think we've been engaging out there in the world in the way that we should and that we can and that we have maybe in our past. So, key relationships are clearly the US. I really mean that I think there's huge opportunities for us in a commercial economic sense. I do want us to open that up. That does require New Zealand firms to get comfortable operating and building literacy to be able to operate successfully in new markets. As I talked to earlier about some of my experiences there observing New Zealand businesses in the US. I mean, you've got to remember, here's an example, right, for the US. I probably spent, I reckon, $1 billion advertising Dove soap to Americans every year. $1 billion US, probably $500 million in TV advertising, another $500 million in promotion. And when you think about that's the kind of investment needed to get a soap brand up and running in the US, that just gives you a feel for it. And you think about New Zealand Inc., and Fran understands it pretty well. And you think about all the businesses that are doing businesses in New Zealand, from New Zealand in the US, you'd be lucky if all of us collectively are spending more than $100 million in promotion. So that's the kind of scale that you've got to start to think about, and that's the kind of ambition you've got to have if you want to build a good and successful business in the US. So Simon, I mean, I really want the US to be a priority. I think there's huge opportunities for us in India, as I've talked about before. We've got to continue to build out our business in China, but and we also have a big opportunity, I think, in Southeast Asia and RCEP as well. So, with myself and Winston and Todd, we'll be on the planes a lot, actually doing the business for New Zealand.
You've mentioned India. I mean, if I looked at a high level at what you've said on the campaign trail, there is quite a change in relation to India, at least in as much from the last government, that the tempo is going to increase very significantly. The other one, we're talking superpowers, is of course China. Just, at a high level, does that stay? Give us a bit on India, but then on China, does the approach in foreign policy terms stay fundamentally the same? Is it continuity with where the Ardern Hipkins government was, or are there subtle differences in terms of how that's going to play?
Well, I think we'll work that through in the coming months and years. But what I'd say is we want to have strong relationships with everybody around the world. I mean, we are in a place as a small country of 5 million people in our part of the world, needing to do business with everybody. And so, yes, we want to have strong trading relationships with China. We're proud of that relationship. It's been a long-term one as well. We've obviously expanded it, economically significantly since the FTA was signed, and that was a catalyst moment that really did unlock and unleash a lot of growth for New Zealand. We'll continue to build that out. We obviously have differences of opinion, but we do that in a consistent, a coherent way of communication with China. And so I'm proud of that partnership and that relationship. But equally, we also need to to stay really close to the US. We have massive values alignment, and importantly, we have huge economic opportunities. And then as you look at the infill through the rest of the world, opportunities Southeast Asia, India, and even, we still have to convert even things like the UK free trade agreement. So my message to New Zealand business people is, you've got enough going on, and actually you can open up new margin structures and new opportunities in each of these markets, but you have to go to them and you have to get good at learning them, and you might have to unlearn the things that made you successful in New Zealand and learn some new things that make you a better operator in the US or anywhere else in the world for that matter. So, for us, it's about, yes, we know it's a more contested world. We know it's a more competitive world. We want to see peace and stability and prosperity in our region, and we'll continue to work hard with our partners to do that.
Just in brief, I was struck at APEC by how much AI, green technology, and also security issues were dominating in the business discussion. Where are they on the radar for your government?
Very much up there. I think, Fran, on AI, it would be fair to say I don't think we are where a lot of the other countries are in some of the conversations that I've had. And even, to be honest, in business circles over the last 15 years, there's actually been a lot of literacy at the top, amongst the top CEOs, around AI, around security pieces too, even in the way the business community plugs into it. On AI, I just say to you, we have a productivity disease in New Zealand. We've got a massive productivity deficit. And actually, AI is one of the ways in which we can actually deal and improve productivity in New Zealand. So, there is two aspects to it. One is there's a massive opportunity for us to improve our productivity, given how abysmal we have been at it over 30 years. And the second part is actually there is real concerns, obviously, around governance structures. And there is now a plethora, I think there's up to 800 different organisations around the world that are actually thinking about AI governance. And so we're going to need to do that in a multilateral way, clearly. I was conversing recently corresponding with Rishi Sunak, and I was thinking about some of the work that he's been doing in that space as well. So, yep, we've got to make sure it's ethical. We've got to make sure that the governance and the rules are set up well for the world. But I just say to us in New Zealand, we have such a deficit in productivity that actually AI and automation in general and adopting technology is a big opportunity for us, because we know when our firms adopt technology, they have much higher levels of profitability than the ones that don't. And our tendency has been not to make the structural and capital investments and technology investments that we need to improve the productivity of our businesses. We keep just adding people rather than actually adding capital and automation and technology.
I think at this point, Prime Minister, we're going to have to wind up because we're conscious of the fact that you did give us 20 minutes, and we do thank you for that. And thank you very much for working with us and presenting your views to this audience. I think everyone is pretty stoked you actually did make time.
Yeah, look, Fran, apologies I couldn't be there again today, but I would love to have been with both you and Simon. But the agenda you've got ahead of the day is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I just want everyone to understand we need positivity, we need ambition, we need aspiration, we need to get our mojo back. We can do this, but I need the business community to come alongside and give us your very best and all your innovation, and be determined to go learn new markets like the US and actually be successful there. We're going to get the country we all collectively deserve, government, business community working together. We deserve the very best, and that's what we're going to go do now. So a lot of work ahead of us. Great that you've got Winston, who knows this relationship incredibly well, understands foreign affairs incredibly well. Todd McClay, fantastic on trade, and I think you even heard from Nicola and maybe David last night, and hopefully that also gives you a sense of a government that is open for business, wanting to get our mojo back and wanting to get out in the world and do things and get things done.
Prime Minister Chris, thanks so much for getting us on our day so positively, and we really wish you all the best for a busy day ahead.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. See ya.
Thank you.